Hey y'all, this is Crystal. Welcome back. This is a channel I talk about books, I talk about stitching, sometimes some other stuff. Today, of course, is my weekly reading wrap-up. Day late, because of course yesterday was Christmas. And I hope that you all, if you celebrate Christmas or Yule or solstice, or if you celebrated Hanukkah a couple of weeks ago, or today is the start of Kwanzaa, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever your holiday is of choice, I hope you celebrated it well. Got some things that you wanted off your list. Maybe spent some good time with family and friends. And hope you enjoyed yourself. We had a nice holiday. It was pretty low-key this year again, because of, COVID. We did cancel some larger family not cancel, but we decided not to attend some larger family get-togethers, and it kind of stinks the second year having to do that, but what are you gonna do? But yesterday, or Christmas Eve, my mom and my stepdad came over. We just hung out, ate some good food, and then Christmas Day we just hung out at our house and played with our new toys, and just really, it was nice and quiet, actually, and very relaxing. So it was nice. It was really nice. Got to video chat with my sister. She lives way over in Washington, so I always miss her around the holidays. But yeah, it was a nice day overall. And yeah, so today is the 26th of December, and we're just taking it easy again today, doing a load or two of laundry, but other than that, still just gonna take it easy. And I've got the entire upcoming week off of work, so I'm just looking forward to even more relaxation as we get ready for the new year. So let's talk about my reading that I got into last week. I got quite a little bit to talk about here. I did some reading, and I'm gonna start off with some things that I finished, of course. And my last wrap up, I know I mentioned that I was listening to The Empire of Pain on audiobook, and this is by Radden Keefe, and I did finish that one up. And this is the subtitle is The Secret History of the Sackler Family, I think, or Sackler Dynasty, something like that. And it is exactly what that says. This is basically a history of the Sackler family, how they got their wealth, how they got involved in pharmaceuticals, their seemingly lack of care, and not wanting to kind of own up to maybe just a little bit of responsibility for the opioid crisis here in America. It was very, very informative. I could really tell the author researched this very well. We go back through a couple of generations. We learn the Sackler family immigrated to the U.S., and then how they kind of started building their wealth, how they got in pharmaceuticals, and what really made them a lot of money, Valium, and then the invention of Oxycontin later on, and how that just took over, and how they were so aggressive with the marketing and all of that stuff, and just what kind of people they are, and they're all sort of supposed philanthropic work, but every time they donate money, their name has to be on the building or on this statue or on this wing or in this. It's a lot. It was a lot of information, but I found it super interesting, and I really enjoyed this. And again, I could definitely tell it was very well researched, and I have no doubt, kind of that all of this stuff is true. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed reading it kind of off the back of having read Dope Sick by Beth Macy, which talks more about the opioid crisis itself. It does mention the Sackler family, but it talks more about the opioid crisis, how, it kind of got its toehold, and this is in the communities, and just snowballed into something awful. And then Empire of Pain really dives into the family history, and then kind of connects up with that opioid story. So very interesting. Would highly recommend it if you're just interested in learning about this family. I thought it was very well done. So enjoyed that. And then I saw a post on Instagram from Books in the Freezer podcast. I love Books in the Freezer. and they were like, had posted their 2022 reading challenge. And it's like, oh yeah, there was a 2021 reading challenge. I kind of fell off of that a little bit. So let me see how I did. Let me see if I can fill in anything, you know. And I was able to kind of fill in things for the 16 prompts, I think it was, but I was missing one. I was like, oh, I wonder if I could find something really quickly, you know, before the end of the year. I had originally kind of penciled in Insomnia by Stephen King, but I was not about to read Insomnia. That was a really big book, and I didn't want to do that right now. So I kind of like, you know, Googled books that came out, you know, and the prompt that I was missing was a book that came out when you were 17. So I looked for books that came out in 1994, and I found a Goosebumps book that came out that year, One Day in Horrorland. I said, you know what, that'll be a quick one. And so I pulled it up on audiobook. I think I found it on Hoopla. It was like 3 hours, you know. And this was a pretty fun one about a little family. We've got a mother, father, daughter, and a son, and then the son actually has a friend that's kind of tagging along with them on their vacation. They are on their way to a theme park, but dad has left the map at home, and they're using a map because this is 1994, and so they've gotten lost. They've been driving around. They're in some kind of desert, I don't know, and they're lost. They're pretty thoroughly lost. But then they come up on this sign that says Horrorland. And they're like, well, this looks like a theme park. Let's check it out. And they do. Dun, dun, dun. It was a fun one. I've read hardly any Goosebumps. I was obviously 17 when this one came out, so I was old when the Goosebumps craze came along, but I'm older. But it was a fun one. It was kind of had some scary spots into it. So yeah, it was a good one. And the audiobook was good, so it's a Goosebumps book, you know what I mean? But I was able to check that box off my list, and I was able to complete the Books in the Freezer challenge. So that'll be fun. So now I gotta plug in what I want to try to do for the 2022 challenge, since they finally released the prompts. So I love a good year-long challenge because you don't feel pressure. All right, what did I finish next? Oh, I had an audiobook hold come in for Mrs. March by Virginia Fato, so I finished that up as well. I actually listened to that all in one day because it was so good. Y'all, I really liked this one a lot. And gosh, how do I describe this one? Okay. Our main character is, of course, Mrs. March, and she is called Mrs. March through the entire book, so if that bothers you, you may not like it. But Mrs. March is married to a man named George March. George March is a pretty famous and, you know, well-respected, well-known writer, and he has just released his new book, and it has become a hit bestseller. One of those books that everybody and their mom is reading. You know, like people that don't even read very much are reading this book. You know, every now and then that book comes along that everybody reads. This is that book that George March has just released. Now, George and Mrs. March have been married for a little while. They do have an 8-year-old son. We dive into their past, how they met, and George was previously married and got remarried to Mrs. March. And the setting, I mean, they're in New York City, but these kind of time period is a bit vague. Like at times it feels like it just might be the 60s, but then maybe it's later. I don't know. And I kind of like that. About fell off my balls seat here. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, Mrs. March. So we're not exactly told like her age, but to me she feels kind of middle-aged-ish, you know, like my age. 40-ish, you know, maybe mid-40s or so. And Mrs. March is very much into how she looks and her outward appearance, how people perceive her, and, you know, making sure that she is putting forth, you know, a good representation of herself. And so once this book comes out, and she goes and visits her bakery that she visits every week, you know, to get her things for the week, and the you know, the lady behind the counter is talking to her because she's, of course, reading this book that George has just put out. And she's like, oh, I'm loving it. I'm devouring it. It's so great. But how does it feel to have the main character based off of you. Mrs. March is then appalled. Now, she hasn't even read this book yet, but she is appalled because she knows that this main character is awful. She is, I think, a prostitute. She's like mean, not nice, and uncaring, like just a terrible, terrible character. So for this woman to think that she is based off of her is like the worst thing could ever happen in Mrs. March's life. So from there, this really starts a spiral for Mrs. March, and I mean deep down into the depths of some mental breakdown. We are watching this woman just cycle through these emotions and feelings. It goes dark, and it's not like super dark, but it's not horror. It's not a horror book, but boy, she just loses it. She is like, okay, George must think I'm this awful person, and is this what he really thinks of me? You know, all of this stuff. And we sit here and watch it. Now, this book is told entirely from Mrs. March's perspective. So we only get, you know, things from her eye, from her point of view. And she, yeah, like I said, she is just spiraling down, and we are there to witness it. And this is a quiet, but it's, you know, kind of a slow story. It's quiet. So if you don't necessarily like a slow, quiet story, this may not be for you, but man, it hooked me right in, and I absolutely really enjoyed this one. I did listen to it on audiobook, which was fantastic, very well narrated. I need to get back into the habit of writing the narrator down, but I forgot. But yeah, put it on your list. I think add it to your list because I think it was really, really great. And I think this author, this is her first book, so gosh, I'm really looking forward to what else she'll have coming out, if this was how she's going to kick things off with her career. So Mrs. March, Virginia Fato, big thumbs up for me. So I enjoyed that one. And then I deviated from the TBR. I went off the rails. Went off list here, because I just really wanted to read Flesh Rehearsal by Brian Bowyer. I just really wanted to read this book. I had seen a couple people reading it, and I was like, damn it, I want to read this. So I saw that I could get it through Kindle Unlimited, and I don't take near enough advantage of Kindle Unlimited than I need to, because I do pay for it every month, right? So I downloaded it and started reading it and finished it in like 2 or 3 days. And I loved it. I freaking loved it. So what is this one about? Okay, Flesh Rehearsal. Okay. The main sort of center of our character are this group of teenagers. They're older teenagers, 16, 17. We've got a brother and sister. And then we've got a kind of runaway kid. And then kind of another kind of runaway kid or orphan kind of girl. And then we follow a slightly older guy. He's like 24, I think he is. Ledlow is. And they all get together and form this band. This all takes place in Los Angeles. So that is your setting. Some of these guys are rich kids, and some of them, like I said, are runaways, and they are connecting. We meet their parents. Some of them have parents that have died, and they maybe just have the mom left, or they just have their dad left, and things like that. It's connected. They're all connected somehow, right? I'm not explaining this very well at all, but anyway. So this, like I said, this isn't a Los Angeles. Now, at this time period, there's also this serial killer kind of roaming around, and the media and everything have named him the lobotomizer, and he does exactly what you think he does. Lobotomizes his victims, and then if they survive, then they're usually roaming the streets and are just, I mean, you can imagine, right? So we've got kind of these two things going on here, but how do they come together? Well, that's what you have to read and find out. But I flippin' loved it. I continue on, I only read Sinister Mix by Brian Bowyer, and I flippin' loved it. And I was like, I gotta read everything by him now. And this, again, I just loved it. There's something about Brian Bowyer's writing style. He is very, what's the word? Minimalistic. And that's not negative. He does not kind of like waste words, not even, if that makes sense. He gets to the point. Here's your sentence. This is the scene. This is what's happening, right? It's very straightforward. But he still is able to like capture these characters in a way that you can visualize them and, get to know them as a character. He still is able to like really set the scene very well, and you can visualize the scene and what's happening. All of that. I mean, he's minimal, but still very effective. And I don't know, just something about the way he writes. I'm a big fan. And I guess sometimes Brian Bowyer's considered like an extreme author, and his violence that he writes in this book. I mean, this is a book about a serial killer. It's violent. Yeah. And there's a certain scene I don't know. I'll get out of my head for a while, but again, he writes those very well. He does not, he doesn't mess around with that. He's like, this is what happened. It's freaking brutal. Blood's flying. But this is what's happening, right? So if you are like squeamish in the least little bit, you may not like these. You may not like Brian Bowyer, because he definitely is very upfront with his violence. I will say, violence against people, sometimes sexual violence, not just a little bit in this book, but violence as far as physical violence, towards people, murdering, fights, all that kind of stuff. And it seems weird to say that I like that, but but he writes it in a way that it's like, again, it's very effective, and it does its job, and it makes me go, So yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I think Brian Bowyer is just, and he's also just a really nice guy. If you follow him on socials, I sent him a message after I finished, and I was like, I finished it, and the ending, whoa, basically, to have it all wrapped up, and I was like, you're killing me with these books, they're so good. And he's super kind. And if you have not listened to his short story that he was put up on The World According to Jay's channel, he released a holiday themed story. So it's kind of a Christmassy story that they posted up on Christmas Eve. I'll try to remember to link that below. Go check it out. It's a really nice, it's a really fun story. So check that out too. Brian Bowyer, I'm a fan. I like him. I got a couple other of his backlists I need to get into, and I'm reading whatever he's putting out. I'm a fan. Okay, so I finished Fluff Rehearsal. All right, find my books here. And now, an actual book, I did finish Season's Creepings by Ronald Kelly, and I saved the last story, and I finished it. Oh, that's my bookmark, but I finished it yesterday, Christmas Day. I saved the very last story to finish on Christmas Day, and I loved this. I loved these stories. I gave most 4 or 5 stars. Yeah, I gave all of them 4 or 5 stars, because I like to kind of star them separately, but yeah. I think he's just the best at writing kind of like seasonal themed stories. Yeah, I read Mr. Glowbones around Halloween, loved it. Read this one, and it's just so fun. He's just a fantastic writer. He really just captures me. When I am reading, I'm in it, and I just cannot wait to read Fear next year. I'm definitely reading that next year. And I love it so much. He's just a fantastic writer. So, highly recommend. Put it on your holiday list for next year reading. It was perfect. It was perfect. And then last night, I just needed maybe a little palate cleanser. I had gone to the library because I needed a book. I needed one book for my book club, but I didn't need this book. But I saw it there on a shelf, and I said, you know what? I'm going to read this. I heard it's super cute, and so I did. And it is super cute. It is so sweet. It is so sweet and lovely, and definitely a good palate cleanser after reading Flush Rehearsal and some of Susan's Greetings. And it is just a super cute graphic novel with a really sweet animation. We are following these two young men, who's it, Nick and Charlie, and they are teenagers, and they go to like a all-boys school. Maybe they like each other. So this is volume 1. We see them kind of meet and, you know, form a friendship. And Charlie is out at school, like everyone knows that he is gay, but Nick is kind of like, I'm feeling some type of way, you know, so he's a bit confused and wondering about his feelings, and it is everything I ever thought it was going to be. So sweet. So I'm going to have to see if my library has the other volumes. I'm not even really sure if they have them, but I'm going to try to grab I think there's 3 volumes out. I don't even know, but it was so sweet. A good palate cleanser for sure. So that are the things I finished. And I had a good reading week. I had a great reading week. I did get a couple books for Christmas. My mom got me some books off my wish list, because I keep a million books on my wish list. Does anybody else? She picked up David Mogo God Hunter by Suyu Davies Okumbawa, and I have been wanting to read this for a while now. I think this was put on my radar probably from Onyx Pages, and Jerry over at Onyx Pages. That would be my guess. That's what's coming to mind, that she put this on my radar. This is a fantasy story about a god hunter. So I think it sounds wonderful. It's been on my radar. It's been on my list for a little while. So I was very excited to get that one. And she also got me another Daryl Gregory book. You know, like, I read Revelator this year. It's gonna be one of my favorite books of the year. And I then put all of his books on my wish list. And she picked one up for me, The Album of Dr. Moreau. And I am so excited for this one. This features a boy band who they are kind of like chimera. Do you see how they have like animal heads? Yeah. And I just, there's some kind of, something happens. Although their producer is found murdered, so it leads to like a whodunit. I don't know. It's gonna be some sci-fi, some weird sci-fi, and I can't wait to read more Daryl Gregory. That's my short. And my mom picked 2 good ones. She did good. I think that's all I've gotten for haul. So I got a $25 gift card burned a hole in my pocket though. Let's see. So what am I in the process of still reading? I'm reading The Croning by Laird Barron. I'm going to finish this one next. Focus on this one and get it finished up so I can finish this one off my list. And this one, I am still uncertain about this one. So I'm going to leave it at that. I picked this one up at the library when I picked up Heartstopper. My favorite thing is monsters. I started it last night. I did not get very far, but I'm excited. This is so beautiful. It's another graphic. I love how it looks like a notebook, like someone's notebook. It even has like the lines, you know. And it's about monsters. Beautiful artwork. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I did start an audiobook. I started Burnt Coat by the author's name is escaping me. I have not gotten very far on that one though. But it's like a dystopian virus type of story, so we'll see how that one ends up. I don't know how much audiobook listening I'll get in this next week, so I usually listen to it while I'm working, so I'm not being working this week. We'll see. And gosh, I'm looking around. I think that's it. Well, this was a long one, sorry, but that's it. I had a good week. Got some little book presents, and yeah, I'm gonna focus on finishing out some of these things this week. Start 2022 nice and fresh. So that's gonna wrap it up for me. We'll end it here. I hope that again you had a wonderful holiday or a nice reading week, and let's finish out this year strong, right? I can't believe we're on 2022. I don't know. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.